our next game. Our next game is Wendy Every Which Way for the Game Boy Color, which was nominated by Pierre-Luc Gagne. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. That is from the iTunes Canada. Gave us a 5-star review. And Pierre-Luc said, awesome all around. They need to improve their sound quality by each recording on their own end. But if you can get past this problem, it's awesome. They also seriously need to review Wendy Every Which Way for Game Boy Color, and that's what we'll do. And I'm sorry about the sound quality.
I mean, I apologize.
Hey, you know what?
If you give us more money,
patreon.com/HG101.
If you want us to use $300 mics, give us $300. Am I right?
We'll do
I was going to say that
I think a lot of the
way, but Kel's right.
But
well, I mean, a lot of our audio problems just come from the fact that we do this over Skype, so we're kind of at the mercy of our internet connection. But thank you, Pierre-Luc.
We'll do our
I'm
best.
guessing that you are from Quebec, and in which case, our first Quebecois reviewer on iTunes. My hat's off to you. Salut. So you picked a game that is near and dear to my heart, Wendy Every Which Way. It was developed by Way Forward. I can't remember when it came out, but it was pretty late.
What was it? 2000, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is like Shantae era.
September 2001, exact.
September 2001, a whole year.
Wow.
And this was when GBA had to be at least a few years old, 2 months old at this point.
Well,
yeah, it was. It really was.
Saying that, this game actually comes with bonus content if you put it in the Game Boy Advance. You get 3 extra hard levels for this game in the Game Boy Advance. So, like, that's...
Which is key, because the game is a little bit too easy.
Yeah, that's probably its biggest flaw. And right off the bat, its biggest flaw is it's actually really easy. Which is shocking for a Way Forward game. They usually just rub your face in the dirt.
It's shocking for a Way Forward game, but not shocking for a Way Forward, like, kiddie license game.
Is this licensed?
I mean, oh yes, it is. It is based on a old and unpopular cartoon, Wendy the Good Witch, I believe. It was kind of like a cat-friendly ghost. I believe it was by the same people who did
same universe, quote unquote, as Richie Rich.
Is Richie Rich? Yeah, who is Casper is Richie Rich's ghost, right?
that's the
maybe he
fan
finally
theory.
realized the futility of pursuit of wealth and took his own life.
But this is Wendy the Witch. Is this really related to the actual comic book? Like, is there like, you could see all the lines.
It's basically like, this is what you got a little bit too, like, this is the end of the Game Boy Color license bonanza, which was like, let's try to sell games to people who don't know anything about games. How do we do that? Well, let's license some really cheap stuff that costs us nothing.
Because I can't imagine,
like whatever, like $200 to like the Harvey Tunes or whoever owned the license, King Features Syndicate or whatever, and they said, we're gonna get Wendy the Witch.
I mean, like, was it like 3 kids that were like, oh, Wendy the Witch, I gotta get this game?
No kid.
Exactly.
In the year 2001
this license is nonsense. But I really like the name. Like, I love Every Which Way.
It's behind the game. No, but it's parents, and their parents would probably remember.
Do you think they would have? Richie Rich, Casper the Ghost. I buy.
Yes, they would.
Definitely.
They would.
Wendy the Witch. All right. Well, you're like 73, so I'll believe you.
2001. They would have remembered this. They would have.
If you're certain,
the character.
But I do love the name. Every Which Way.
We're not ranking the business decision that Way Forward made.
We could,
because I don't think it paid off. But
no, it didn't.
Their idea was very, very good, and this is like one of the early Way Forward games that kind of did this, which is like, let's take a really kick-ass NES game that didn't get its due, and let's remake it for a newer platform that's almost kind of not really new at all anymore in 2001. But let's make a really great game out of something. So, like, they did this with Monster World with Shantae, right? They made like a new Monster World game, but on the Game Boy Color with their own license line. And, that's a much loved game that everybody should play. It's great. This game went back to Metal Storm, which was a pretty late NES game. It's a classic. It costs $1 million to buy it now. You're never ever going to be able to get it on a virtual console or anything like that, because I believe the company that published it or made it is basically out of business. So whatever holding company owns the rights to this is probably, if they'll make anything, it's going to be a pachinko machine.
It's probably a Japanese it's probably like a Japanese company that exclusively makes like futons or something. Like they're like, what do we got to do with this?
Probably somebody who sells insurance.
Yeah, and futons and insurance. And futon insurance, in case your futon burns down. So Metal Storm is an NES game. It is badass, and it's a game, it's basically like a kind of like Contra Run-A-Gun, except when you jump, do you tap A twice, or do you jump while pressing up?
You have to hold up and hit A.
Yeah, up and A. So when you jump while holding up on the D-pad, you will reverse gravity, which means that your character goes right to the ceiling and then will fall up from that point on, unless you reverse gravity again. And it's a good little game. It's not very long. It's not very complicated. It's not particularly well designed, although it does have some cool stages with like a screen wrap effect. Stage 2 is really good.
It's pretty, aside from the whole gravity gimmick, it's pretty basic as far as platformers go, and you have to get pretty far in before it starts to get especially difficult.
Yeah, Wendy has the opposite problem, where it never gets difficult enough, because they knew who their audience was. Their audience was parents who were buying their kids games to shut them up on their car trip to Disney World or something, and so they couldn't make it too hard. And I think that's why they added the Advance World feature, which is really cool. And you plug the game into a Game Boy Advance, and you can play extra worlds. And they must have additional. I couldn't detect it, although I played it on a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, the Advance World is where it actually starts to get really difficult when I played of it, because you're dealing with like corridors full of spikes and crushing blocks that work with gravity, and it gets really interesting. It's kind of a shame the rest of the levels aren't like that.
You get the impression that that's probably like some of the first levels they designed, and then they're like, oh, no kid is going to tolerate this. It's too hard. So they went back and they made it easier, but it's not so easy that it's not fun. It's not taxing, but it's enough of a challenge to feel like you're not just breezing through it. You don't feel like you're cheating or anything like that. It's not like that kind of breezing through it.
It is unfortunately short.
Very short, but it was a Game Boy Color game. Let's give it some.
Well, it's short and it's easy, which is very risky for a Game Boy Color or a Game Boy game in general, because this game will take an hour. I think, unless you're a young child with very little coordination, you probably will clock this game in about an hour, which
true
is not great for a portable game. It is cool, very cool.
Well, it's not great for a portable game now, but remember, I believe it had a save. Did it have a save function, or was it a password?
It has passwords. It gives you like a little
password. So it's got a password function, but it is. Look, they could have made it longer, but would that have made the game better? Maybe not. I think they did. The level design is pretty good for what it is. It is a kid's game. It's not supposed to be super challenging, but it does have the Advanced World feature, which is challenging. And when you play it now, you can access it no problem.
It does kind of amuse me that they hid content and okay, go buy a Game Boy Advance. I think that there's something about I haven't played this game in a couple of years, so I don't have a very sharp memory about the Advanced World, but I believe it does something that you can't do on the Game Boy Color, and I don't know what it is, but I don't think it was arbitrarily locked to use on a Game Boy Advance. I think it was because very few Game Boy Color games did this. By the way, it's very, very few.
There's something that they were up to that they couldn't do on the Game Boy Color. They must have done. But anyway, we got to rank this thing. So I don't want to put it too high, because I don't.
It's just pretty basic platform once you get past the gimmick. It's a game that'd be great for a car trip, but kind of not so much beyond that.
It's a Super Mario Land of Metal Storm. Look at it that way.
This game is it's nice. It's probably, I don't know if you would. It doesn't really replace Metal Storm either. Metal Storm's probably just as good, if not kind of more interesting, just because it's it's harder.
I don't know about that, but
I don't know. It's hard to say.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I mean, this game looks nicer.
Oh, this game
looks
nicer. The animation's fantastic.
The sprite art is incredible.
The thing about, like, Way Forward is they almost do themselves a disservice because every single time they release a sprite-based game, it looks fantastic, and you look at it and you're like, wow, that looks fantastic. That's exactly what I expect from Way Forward. What else is about it? So even though most other games look half as good as at best, look at the Game Boy Color library. It's shocking compared to some of
garbage.
But when you look at this, you're like, oh, okay, it's got good graphics, whatever. Because it's a Way Forward game, and you dismiss the fact that they put so much life into this game. And, you know, like, there's lovely, like, little features, like, when you flip gravity on the skeletons later on in the game, they grab the ceiling and, like, hang on for, like...
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of little things like that, like, the effects that flipping gravity has in the game is nothing like Metal Storm. It's actually way more
and that's
thoughtful.
Like, that's something that I did... We're not going to talk about very much, but that is something that I feel, like, there are these little effects and this little, like, teasers of, like, more interesting concepts that you don't really get in, like, VVVVV, which is very much just kind of, like, very level design, whereas they kind of bring in level mechanics and, like, gimmicks.
Yeah, they do more with the gravity reversal thing in a way, whereas VVVV, God, I love everything about that game except for its title. But, I mean, yeah, it is very much sticking to, like, the one room, you know, one screen, one room, one, you know, like one or two challenges.
What I really wish this game did I wish this game had more content. Like, that's it. Like, I get it. It's a kid's game, and that's really the weakness of this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have a game that leaves you demanding more. And even and you do have to consider that it was made for kids. It's made for kids who wouldn't have even bought it by choice.
This is kind of an interesting licensed title, because, you know, it like, I don't know how many copies this would have sold. It's like a Game Boy Color exclusive game, because no one buying it a Game Boy Advance was going to be like...
expensive, as far as I know, to buy it after, you know...
In the aftermarket. But what I mean is, like, at the time, you either had to have a Game Boy Color or a Game Boy Advance. If you bought a Game Boy Advance, you were like, forget all those other games. I'm going to buy advanced games. So, little interesting kind of, like, time period they decided to launch their game. Other problem, there's not many bosses, and this game really needed a boss or two to, like...
It's true. It's got these weird shooter things, right?
There's got the, like, side-scrolling
segments. Reminds me of the end of Kid Icarus.
Problem is the shooter segments are so easy, they might as well not be there. I don't actually get anything from them.
I agree. I mean, I would put this one...
Yeah.
I'm gonna say. Actually, I'm gonna put it in the Aliens Infestation range.
That's kind of where I was looking. Like, I'm like,
because I feel like Aliens Infestation is like a much more muddled and misguided game. Like, it's a game that is not well executed for what it's trying to do. It's a very confused game, whereas this game has a lot of clarity to it. There's so I know it's better than Aliens Infestation.
This one's tough because basically it's a really great kids game, like fantastic as a kids game.
Hard for us to, but none of us played it as kids. Yeah, that's
kind of what Way Forward does. Even their kids games are always decent at the very least.
They really are. Actually, they put a Batman game out for the DS like years ago that was like actually pretty damn cool. I mean, it's super duper easy, but it's really cool.
So I'm kind of like, I'm comfortable to rank this pretty well in that general zone, with the caveat that a little bit like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, this is kind of ranked also because, you know, if you can hand this game to a kid and they'll be like, wow, I can finish this game, it's a lot of fun, it's got some interesting ideas, and it's not just like, okay, well, adults who like platformers want to be punched in the dick repeatedly. Like, it's not that kind of game. It's a lighthearted experience.
We just talked about Turrican. It's like the anti. Yeah, I mean, okay. So how about this? How about I want to put it.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, like, I mean,
below Devil's Crush, above Outrun 2006.
I think I do think that's a little high. I mean, like, I think you were right in the kind of Pulseman area. Like, let's look at it compared to Pulseman, which is kind of, you know, Pulseman. I think it's better than Pulseman. You think it's better than Pulseman?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine if you think it. Bob, what do you think?
Can I ask why you feel that way?
Pulseman's got a really cool idea, a really cool mechanic that it does not nearly enough.
It fumbles with it constly. It's like,
whereas
whoops.
Wendy, at least it's got a really cool mechanic, and it does more with it than it ever been done before. It just didn't make enough of a challenge. But but they've got the advanced world levels that we all can play now, and those are challenging, and it does a lot. So yeah, I'm saying
my offer is kind of
above Paul's
underneath
Command.
Master of Magic, because I think that Master of Magic is a fantastic game.
Yeah, okay, so above G.I. Joe then. I think that's actually a good comparison too, because G.I. Joe is kind of like a not quite as good Contra, but it has some interesting ideas in it.
Okay. Bob, how do you feel?
And we're
I
done.
would put it around G.I. Joe. That sounds fair.
Great. So dogs, we don't need you this time.